Okay, let's get started. Once again, welcome and thanks for joining today's session, How to Leverage ProbateCash to Build Your Business, a webinar brought to you by ProbateCash. I'm your host, Molly Driscoll. As a reminder, type your questions in the chat window. The presenters will address your questions after the presentation. If your question is case-specific and confidential, please let us know. And someone will respond separately after the presentation. Our presenters today are professionals with extensive experience in the probate field. Marc Harris is an attorney admitted to the Florida Bar in Southern District of Florida. Marc is also a member of Florida Bar's Real Property, Probate, and Trust Law section. Marc has been working in the specialty finance industry for 25 years, involved in purchasing of over $100 million of assets. Most of his purchases, pursuant to various state laws, required court hearings, many of which Marc has either attended or appeared as counsel. As the CEO of ProbateCash, Marc is now spearheading a relatively new industry of purchasing interest in actively pending inheritance claims from estates or trusts. Bill Gross, aka the LA Probate Expert, is a renowned specialist in probate sales within the real estate sector. Born in Santa Monica and raised in Orange County, Bill has lived in the Inland Empire, San Gabriel Valley, South Bay, and for the last 20 years, the west side of Los Angeles. Bill has been in real estate for over 30 years, closed thousands of transactions, and gives his all to help his customers achieve their goals. So now, without further ado, let's hear from Marc and Bill. So I think, Marc, you're a little on mute there.
I'm now unmuted. People in my house prefer me on mute, but for this webinar, it probably works better if you can hear me. So thanks everybody for being here. We have close to a couple hundred people that are attending this webinar. So thank you all for being here. Most of you are realtors from around the country. You're in for a treat today because we do have Bill Gross here, who, as Molly said, is not just an AKA, the real estate LA real estate probate expert, but he also does a podcast, Probate Weekly, that you guys can hear, and I'll let Bill talk a little bit more about that. So you're here on our webinar. This is ProbateCash, and what does ProbateCash do? So ProbateCash provides advances to beneficiaries of estates who are waiting for their inheritance. They can't access that inheritance because it's tied up in the probate court. And I think a lot of you who are on this call understand that. You're getting phone calls from people who have lost loved ones and they're looking to sell the estate home, except they don't have the legal authority to sell the estate home. So they're probably calling you to say, hey, I need to get something called this probate process so I can get something called letters to sell the house. So that we work with personal representatives, we work with the beneficiaries of the estates, and we provide those advances and provide that real needed liquidity that otherwise beneficiaries can't receive due to the long probate process, which many of them are only experiencing for the first time. So with that said, Bill, why don't you, I know Molly gave you a great introduction, but I'm sure nobody can tell the people about you better than you.
Oh no, you're gonna make me talk about me. I hate that.
No,
I think the thing that I offer people watching today is I'm a practitioner. I'm a real estate broker in Los Angeles, focused on probate real estate listings. I represent attorneys and estates and families selling property and probate. I also have a team nationwide. And so I do host the podcast Probate Weekly, which I created to give me a platform to interview people like you, Marc, and vendors across the country, practitioners across the country, attorneys across the country. So I do think I have both a unique perspective, but also I do this every day, and I use this product or service, I guess to be precise. I use a service to help my customers, and so I feel very well qualified to speak on behalf of this company as well as the industry.
Yeah, so I agree with that, and because we have more realtors on this call than anybody else. What are some examples of how ProbateCash has helped you and your business, or can help the folks who are here and want to figure out how can they grow their practice? How can they win a listing from others, and how can they once they have a listing, how can they make it go as smooth as possible?
So when I started building my probate business, there's a couple ways to go. One is buying data from sources and cold calling or mailing, but those people have already filed a probate. The probate advance really gives you a chance to address those people's needs as well as the people before them. Because I would get calls or emails or texts from people who'd say, somebody died in my world and they don't know what to do. They don't even know where to start. And I think that in the beginning, I would just refer them to an attorney, refer them to a probate attorney. What I learned is that there's different flavors of probate attorneys, and there's the right one for different situations. And one of the criteria that people use in choosing is, well, how much does it cost me? And the probate cash advance can take that part of the decision off the table. Because rather than get into and make the wrong attorney, get into prolonged litigation, you get the right attorney regardless of the money, because you can generally advance the money you would need for the attorney's fees and the other costs. In addition to, some attorneys want retainers, some don't. But even if they don't, somebody has to pay the filing fee in LA County. That could be $350. The publication, that could be $350 or more. And other miscellaneous costs in selling property. Where does the money come from? And in my experience, many people who are heirs of these properties have never bought a house before. And like most Americans, they can't come up with $500. So if you're going to inherit, and I would have many clients who were basically destitute, but they're going to inherit a $500,000 house and it's stuck in the mud. And the probate advance allowed us to get the cash, maybe put a fence around the property, evict the people, the trespassers, get a retainer to a great attorney, pay for the fees up front, maybe a little pocket cash, maybe some money to make life a little easier while they're waiting for their inheritance to come through. So again, to me, it's just about putting some oil between the gears to make them move a little more quickly. And cash can oftentimes solve those problems. And it's, there's a number of different ways. So again, just to answer your question, I guess to go back to the question particularly, pre-probate, helping them get the probate filed, helping them protect the assets before they're appointed, and it'll give them a strategy to do that perhaps. And then second, once they are appointed, sometimes they find out they're in litigation and the other parties are causing problems, they need cash, or they find out they need to evict somebody, they need money to do that, or they just want to advance themselves some of the estate for whatever reason. I had, just to show you one occasion, I had a customer who was raised by her aunt, who treated her like a mother, and the aunt passed away, and she was getting ready to inherit a $600,000 property free and clear, but she had any money to have the aunt's final arrangements. And she called me in tears. Could she get, I think she went to about $7,000 for funeral services and casket burial and all that. Yeah, and she was like, able to do this for somebody she cared about. Now, some people might say that's frivolous. I'm not here to judge. She felt like it was a life-changing opportunity. And she had the inheritance coming. It was just in the probate court. It was going to be 9 months away or 6 months away. And she was able to have that experience as a result of getting the probate advance. So again, there's a lot of applications for it, but it's about empowering people, giving them a chance to help themselves.
Yeah, then of course somebody about to inherit a $600,000 home and which they could sell for, the market value would be $600,000, and they're having cash crunch problems immediately.
Right.
What happens when you don't have money? You start to panic. You start to make poor decisions, and if you don't have the proper representation, you don't have the proper advice, who's going to be knocking at the door? Somebody is going to offer $350,000 to you in cash for that $600,000 home, right?
Exactly.
And yeah, so that's where we come in. We provide that money, and everybody can take a deep breath, slow down. They've got some cash, start making some good decisions, start surrounding themselves by advisors who have their best interest in mind. So
you're so right. I think the emotional part, the panic, this is somebody who's lost a loved one of some sorts. Some cases are not connected to it. Sometimes they are. But, I never really thought of it that way. You're right. There is a sense of panic when, you're going to inherit a property. But I had a case where the trespassers were leaving the water running and flooding, and the city sited the property. And so we had to go in and shut off the water, figure out what to do damage-wise, put a fence up. But we could then hold our breath and market the property and get the best investor at the highest price rather than just one who offered her cash. And your number is right on that. In that case, I think she made about an extra $100,000 because we're able to take our time and do it properly rather than succumbed to the first investor came through.
Yeah, great. And that's that's part of what we do. We don't necessarily have a dog in the fight for what somebody is going to do with their advance. So our company, when people get started, people come to us through all sorts of methods. We market, of course, so through search engines, and we also have a whole bunch of referrals, including from realtors, lawyers, realtors. You can see how it can help you with your business. We have an application process. We have an underwriting department of ProbateCash where we go ahead and take a look at the filed probate case, see if there's a will, see if it's an intestate situation, no will. Confirm, obviously, that our customer is indeed a beneficiary, just like you would as realtors want to make sure you're representing somebody who actually has the legal authority to sell the home because they own it. We do the same with the beneficiary. We want to make sure we're giving money to somebody who will have the ability to pay it back. If they can't pay it back, let's talk about that real quickly. Our advances are non-recourse. They are not loans. We do not charge an interest rate. We don't know the date of maturity. Right? We usually get paid back when the assets are distributed from the estate. When does that happen? Well, that's the problem with our business. We problem with probate. It's rarely a schedule. It could be 6 months, 9 months, 12 months or more, and that's if there are no adversarial issues. So we do charge fees. There's no interest rate, and there's no recourse, more important. So we give an advance to somebody, $50,000, and it's time to get repaid, and the house doesn't sell for as much. Or the Department of Health or Medicaid files an enormous claim against the estate that wipes out the shares of the beneficiaries. We do not get paid. That is our risk. So we take the risk of claims being filed. We take the risk of that will being discovered when the initial filing was intestacy. That's on us. The only time that we do have recourse is if our customer receives the money and then doesn't pay us back. We will pursue legal remedies against that person because that's, of course, stealing. When somebody does sign with us and we give them an advance, we file the beneficiary's assignment with the probate court. Transparency is key. In fact, we try to talk to the estate attorney on all these matters beforehand. We want to give the estate attorney a heads up what's going on. California, Bill, where you're located, actually has a statute right on point of how somebody assigns an inheritance. And California is unique because it's the only statute in the country that governs inheritance assignments. However, we like that statute. It's got a lot of consumer protections, and we follow that statute throughout all the other states in the country we do business, which is every state in the country. We file our documents with the probate court so the judge can see it, the estate attorney can see it, and we like that because the personal representative of the estate knows to pay us back. Transparency is key with this business simply for selfish reasons. It makes you get paid back easier. So that is our process. I did see a question. I was peeking that how do you I'm sorry, Molly. I was going to just because.
Joan, actually, you're perfect timing because we're actually at that 15-minute mark. So I just want to let everyone know that to keep typing in your questions. I even saw a few hand raises. So if you have a question, please go into the Q&A and ask it because we'd love to get to everybody's questions. And like for some reason you have to leave, we will be sending a recording of this link. But let me get to our first one if that is good with Bill and Mark here. The first one, and I think you might have touched a bit on this, Mark, but it's important, so let's recover it. How can you get a probate advance to pay for expenses before the estate goes through the probate process? If you want to just kind of retouch that.
So there are two questions potentially to that, or two answers to that. First is our whole business is getting advances to people before the probate process ends. That's when the money is needed the most. But I think Bill alluded to, and I have too, people need the money simply to open up a probate. The only asset they have is that house, and they cannot raise capital even to pay a retainer fee to a lawyer. So we will, in those situations, we'll actually advance money for the purpose of paying the attorney the retainer fee. And we'll be waiting in line for, we'll be eagerly watching the probate get open and make sure that we're working with the beneficiary. But we work with the probate attorneys. We have a network just like you guys have networks of attorneys. So that's how we would do that in those situations.
And we have another question here. What about being a wholesaler or an investor?
That may be for Bill, I'm thinking.
Bill, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
But maybe
so I work with wholesale investors all the time on probate. So the first question is the property going to have to be marketed, publicly? In many cases, it's not, right? If there's no contest, and California is probably the strictest. If there's no contested probate, and if the petitioner can have full authority, then they can sell it to an investor or wholesaler right away. So if you're an investor or wholesaler, you have a heightened interest in getting the right attorney, because a lot of the weaker attorneys I find will purposely choose limited authority, which they'll call safer, which isn't, generates more revenues for the attorneys sometimes, but means the court has to confirm the sale, which to investor wholesaler means you have to have commissions and other people can bid on it. And those are cases where I get involved, look at that, and find out how we can flip it to full authority. Then we don't need court confirmation, and the property can just be sold. In other states, it's kind of a similar situation that investor wholesaler, if you find somebody who has a property, but there's a title problem, right? Somebody wants to sell, they're in the property, but grandpa's on title or grandpa and grandma, and they're both deceased. In most cases, that will have to go through probate to change the title. And you can kind of prepackage the deal by bringing in an attorney and a probate advance to pay for the fees required and the attorney's fees and the other fees associated, and get it done right away. So this does apply to investors or wholesalers specifically. And I'd say particularly, feel free to reach out to me. I get phone calls like this, and most of the time it doesn't require a realtor, and I'm glad to help you unravel the path. If it does, I'll tell you up front, hey, you have multiple errors here, your petitioner's out of state. In California, you're probably going to need a court confirmation, or you're going to need it'd be limited authority only, or maybe you need a fiduciary to act to get full authority to avoid the court sale. So again, to investors and wholesalers, this can make or break your deal if you get the right probate attorney to handle it in the right way. And one way you can help get that right attorney the case is by using the probate advance as the tool to pay for it, to make the customer's decision easier.
And furthermore, our company has a network of attorneys. I'm sure, Bill, you do as well. We refer beneficiaries to lawyers, realtors to lawyers if you're working in different states. I get referrals. I have a whole bunch of realtors in Florida who suddenly need a property sold in California or other states. So we all know how that network benefits all of us. One thing I did want to go, and I know we're past some time, but we're
good. We have a few more minutes. We have a few more questions too. So
great. Well, I have no life, so I'm still here. So
it's your company, Mark. You can do what you want.
Right. Oh yeah. I keep again. My how do we help realtors? Because that's who's here. I think that's really important. People who don't know about our service, that we can make these advances, are at a disadvantage in sometimes winning listings. If you can go into a situation to get a listing where you know that our service exists, you're going to be talking oftentimes to people who are hungry to sell their house, mainly because they need money. And if you have the ability to say, hey, be honest, it's going to take X amount of time to sell the house. Even in a great market, it's going to take a couple of months to close on the house. But I have a source that can get you some money up front. So it'll take the pressure off. Again, we don't want you selling that $600,000 house for $350,000 because you need $30,000 to buy a new car. Be patient. And so you as the realtor will be able to identify that need. There's an industry out there that is called pre-settlement funding. It's personal injury attorneys. They are not allowed to give their clients money. That's unethical. Their clients come to them, they just got hit by a bus and they need money, but they're not going to get money because the case takes a long time to be, we go through the legal process before a settlement or verdict. And so what these lawyers know is that they can get their clients, if you sign with me, I can get you some money up front. And that helps that lawyer win that case. And in that same spirit, we can help you as realtors win listings, and you need to know that information. And even if people have the ability to get a loan from traditional financing, which I encourage, traditional financing is going to be less money than our fees. However, traditional financing can take a month or two before you actually get the money. We fund our deals within usually 1 to 2 business days. And so if somebody needs 10,000, so our smallest advances are usually $3,000. We'll give as high as a $500,000 advance. And again, our timing is very quick. We understand that's the business work.
That's great. You went over a lot of specifics there, and I'm actually going to lump in 2 questions that I think you answered a bit, but it'd be good to get them. One question was how fast I can get the advance, and I think you mentioned that, but if you want to reconfirm that. And then also, if there's no interest in charge on the advance, how is the fee or how is ProbateCash making money on being advanced? So I guess a question about fees and timing, if you want to just restate that, Mark.
Yeah, sure. So fees, everybody wants to know fees. So our standard fee structure is 25% of the advance amount. So for instance, if we're providing a $10,000 advance, the amount due to us would be $1,250, $10,000 of the fee plus $1,250, $2,500, excuse me, 25% of the fee. So, and that's for every 90 days. And it goes up with a maximum of 100%. So if the money's out for over a year, it could be that a $10,000 advance will require a $20,000 repayment in full. And again, these are before the probate courts. The probate court never not agreed to that the fees are reasonable. They understand the business we're in. I do tell people, I do a lot of webinars with lawyers as well. If your clients have other means of raising the money, by all means, they should do it. We are the source for people who need money now. And we get lawyers calling us because they need money now, otherwise their house is going to go into foreclosure. And so there are a lot of good reasons. Just our company does about 100 of these a month throughout the country. And again, we do them throughout the country. So that's important. Assuming not everybody here is from California or Florida, where I'm sitting right now, as you have this coast to coast webinar. Was there another question? I'm sorry, Molly.
Yes, I just one attendee would like for you to repeat under what circumstances you would ask for the advance money back.
Would I ask for it back? Just about every every time. Let's sort of yes for the advance money back. So
I think what they're referring to is when the time comes to pay back, how much you pay back, and that would be out of the probate.
Right, and that's why this is not one of a few reasons why this is not a loan. In a loan, you have an actual repayment schedule, right? So if there's a loan, you have collateral, you have a security that is given. We do not take any security. Most of our customers don't have any security. There is no collateral, so that's one aspect why it's not a loan. Second aspect, we're going to give you $10,000 now, and you're going to pay us back when? Okay, we know that the strong majority of our customers can only pay us back out of the assets of the estate. And so there could be a preliminary distribution, but for the most part, it's at the end of the estate. So our advances are outstanding usually between 9 and 18 months, depending what jurisdiction you're in. But we don't know. Sometimes we have some that are out 3-4 years. But so maybe the answer to that question, if it's going to be you're at the 15 to 18 month point, is somebody going to get a call from ProbateCash saying, "Hey, pay me back"? No. As long as the estate is open, as long as there's been no fraud, we have capped our fees, and we know that we're going to get paid back when the estate assets are ordered to be repaid by the court, then the personal representative will pay us. And like I said, if there is no money to be paid back because our customer ended up with no inheritance due to the myriad things that can happen, we don't get paid back. We have to walk away.
And that's a key. If I could just
please
pull
go,
a color on that. That's a key point that people are scared to say, well, I won't get stuck with this advance. I don't know, maybe they're a cousin or they're not sure the circumstances. Their job is to disclose everything they know. And if they don't have to pay it back as long as they're honest and work with the case to try to get it back, and they should feel comfortable advancing it regardless, it's our job as the probate advance company, in my case, as a realtor, to do our research and do the due diligence and remove the risk from the customer in this case from making those decisions. Yes, you're a cousin, but there's no other heir, and we want you to move forward for whatever reason. So these are things that we can use to help a customer feel more comfortable, because they have the same problem as far as filing the probate, right? Why should I file if somebody else is going to step in? And the answer is, you're the sole heir at this point, and we believe it'll work out. So our job is to help our customers understand the risk and make the right decision for them as well as for the business.
And those personal representatives are also sometimes panicking when the house is being listed, or they're going through the process of listing the house. So the personal representative is having to answer to their siblings, so their cousins, so other people who are beneficiaries of the estate who have no clue about the probate process. They call the estate attorney, who's not taking their calls because they're not a client of the estate attorney. They do not know what's going on, but they are constantly calling your client, the personal representative who's trying to sell the house, and putting the pressure on them. And that's another reason. Hey, don't, this is not the time to panic. We're going to get the full value for this house. Send your siblings to ProbateCash. They give them in advance. That'll take the pressure off until we're ready to close this house. So that's yet another advantage. Sorry, Molly. One other thing that I totally forgot to say is we pay referral fees. So not only are you going to be helping yourself talking to people to get the listings, but we will also pay referral fees when we're advancing money to one of your listings, personal representative, or their beneficiaries. Will pay you at the time that we actually pay the beneficiary. You do not have to wait until the asset is distributed.
I just think if we can, I'm going to slip in one final question before I'm going to get everyone Bill and Marc's contact info, which I know has been asked about. So how do you market yourself before filing the court case?
Let's see.
How do you market yourself before filing the court case? I guess, if the court case has been filed, how do you
market to get leads from people who are getting ready to file, I think is the question. And I would say that in my case, and that's my focus, is I coach realtors on this all the time, and investors. And so I'd say there's two things you should be doing. Number one is you should be constantly adding value to the people that you know, like, and trust, because the best probate business is going to come from the people you already know. We mistakenly think, I'm going to buy the data from this company and cold call strangers and build a business. And the reality is there's never been a business built. The foundation wasn't happy customers and happy referrals from people you've done business with. So oftentimes people say, well, what do I tell them? How do I reach out to my current database about probate? And the answer is go to ProbateCash.com. There's some great content here on what we've talked about today that you can literally copy and paste and post, or just post the link to their website. It says, a seminar today about probates. Do you know you can get a probate advance to pay for some of the upfront costs? And link, and you could call me with the details. The goal is not for you to have your customers educated in your post. Your goal is your customers to think of you as an expert and call you with the problem. Then you hang up and call Mark, or you hang up and call me, and we help you serve your customer, make money. So number one is with people you know, like, and trust. Number two is posting content in social media to market myself as an expert. And so I've had Mark on my YouTube channel. I think I had Molly and Sean on as well. I think maybe at one time on my YouTube channel. I'm constantly looking to share information I learn with my customers, with my colleagues from around the country for referrals. And so you have a chance today. You've learned a little bit. Share what you've learned with your sphere as well as your social media to try to get people to call you when they have a problem in this area, and then you can help put this deal together.
Yeah,
it's an excellent part. Please,
go ahead,
Mark.
Molly.
Oh, no, I was just going to say it's an excellent point. And going to ProbateCash, this webinar itself will actually be posted in about a week. So if you want to rehash anything that you learned today, it will be up there for all eternity. Do you have any final thoughts, Bill or Mark, before I give them your important contact information so everyone could pick your brains after this?
I encourage you to browse our site, but if you don't want the pain of reliving the webinar, you can always call me directly and send an email as well. So Molly, let you give our contact info.
Okay, great. Yes. So if you think of a question offline, like I always tend to think things 10 minutes later, we'd love for you to call or email Mark or Bill. You can reach Mark at 561-476-0018, or you can email him at mark@probatecash.com, and that's MARC. You can also contact Bill by calling him at 310-210-0008, or you can email him at bill@probateweekly.com, and you can find him at all his social media channels, which he's at Bill Gross Probate. And we'll be sending a follow-up email with all that information as well. So thank you so much. Thank you for all the fabulous questions. It really kept this great discussion going. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Molly. Thanks, Bill, again for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys. A lot of fun. Always fun to talk to you guys about probate and probate advances.